Hello and welcome back to Toby Jones Talks Music. Yesterday, which was Thursday because it's Friday that I'm recording this video, was New Arrivals Day. That's actually not something that's happened too often, at least this year, if not last year as well. I've just had a look on eBay and I've only ordered 3 lots of CDs off eBay this year. When I say 3 lots of CDs, one was actually a lot, the 2 were individuals. The second one we'll come on to in a minute. But I've only ordered 3 things off eBay in terms of music this year. The first one being the Moody Blues Every Good Boy Deserves Favour back in February. I then, about a month ago, ordered a job lot, I think for about 8 or 9 Kiss CDs. And then the latest, which is what today's video is all about, completing my AC/DC collection, asterisk, because we'll go on to that later. And that is completing the collection with their 2012 release, the third official live album anyway, Live at River Plate, taken from the Buenos Aires concert in 2009 as part of the Black Ice Tour. 2 CD album. I have listened to this many times before. It is a very good set. Obviously incorporates some of the Black Ice tracks, so you've got Rock and Roll Train starting it off, as well as Big Jack. Black Ice is also on here, and War Machine. So 4 tracks from the new album, as was then, on this 2 CD release. This has been in my want list for a long time, but half of the fun, maybe even more than half of the fun with my collecting, don't know about yourself, but in terms of me, is getting things for the right price. And I had this album on my eBay want list for a long time, so I had a saved search. If anybody put a listing of Live at River Plate up, it would come up. But equally, 2 things, they were a little bit too expensive for what I was willing to pay. Plus the fact, which is something I didn't even know before this came up, is that all of them before were in digipacks, which are okay, but they do damage easy. I have to say, if I can get something without a digipack, then I will go for it. And I didn't even know this was released without the digipack, but this, as you can see, is the standard jewel case edition, so that was great. Secondly, it was cheap, considering, well, reasonable, I suppose you could say. I don't think I'd seen this for below £8 or £9 on eBay, and this one came up for £4.50, free postage as well. When I looked at this and I saw it was in a jewel case, I thought, that looks a bit strange given everything I've seen before was in a digipack. But no, it's legit, and there was a pressing that came out in the jewel case format. This is a nice CD set, so you've got the booklet, which is actually a decent booklet because a lot of the booklets you can get are pretty nondescript, particularly those ones. I mean, I don't know if let me see if I've got one here to hand. Let me see if this is a good example. No, it's not a good example. This is kind of like the page you would expect. This is Tom Jones' Greatest Hits. But you know when you get those sorts of booklets, even ignore the picture, which is just literally that page there with the tracks and who wrote them, which, okay, gives some sort of description, but you open it up and it's like, that's it, really. The Live at River Plate booklet here is pretty good. There's a few live shots of the band. So you've got Brian there. You've got what's on disc 1 with some pictures of the crowd. This concert was pretty famous on YouTube, did the rounds. Really nice set for this concert as well, with the train in the background. Again, more shots of the crowd and some of the additional tracks. This, of course, the last release with Malcolm being in the band. What a shot that is. What a great shot that is of Angus, Brian and Rosie. And then we got Phil there. Just a great set that is, isn't it? Great set. It is a bit sunny today, so apologies if any of the pictures are a bit unclear. You've got Cliff there. And then the view out. Imagine that view out to the crowd. Absolutely brilliant. And then finally, probably the best set of images of Brian and Angus. And then finally, on the last page, you've got who the band are and all the lineups, etc, etc. So, as far as booklets go, pretty good, I have to say. So that's a good thing. So that has pretty much completed my AC/DC CD collection, which I'm absolutely chuffed with because I've only done that with a few groups. I did do it the easy way with AC/DC to a large extent. The whole reason I started collecting CDs on a big time is I'd gone down the vinyl path, and this is kind of repeating old ground for maybe people who haven't watched the channel before. What was it now? 6 years ago. 6 years ago, actually, well, it was Father's Day. So 6 years ago this weekend, if Father's Day was the same weekend, let's just say it is for the drama of the story. Me and my sister bought my dad a record player. He'd still got some old records down the garden. And as they say, the rest is history. I said I was going to buy one album, and then 500-600 albums later, it happened. My dad said at that point, after I bought that many, I'd like to get a few CD collections. So I think he said AC/DC, Queen and Thin Lizzy. We went to a few record fairs and got bits and pieces. And I think we probably got 3 or 4 AC/DC albums, which are like this one. So the AC/DC remasters, this being the 90s live album with the remaster sticker in the digipacks. And then a listing came up on eBay, £35 for the lot, everything. So that was all the albums apart from Power Up. All the albums apart from Power Up in that remasters form. I think that ran up to Stiff Upper Lip, Black Ice and Rock or Bust were in the normal digipack standard. It also came with the original TNT album, the Australian release. In fact, I'll get that out. As I trashed the rest of the CDs, but oh well. So this is TNT, the Australian release. This band's got a rather strange and confusing Australian compared to international release. I have to say, the video isn't really that good today, so I'm hoping that picks it up even if I have to put it out there. But yeah, you've got TNT in the Australian version of High Voltage as well. See, there's a few albums left on the desirable list, one of them being High Voltage, the Australian version. But if I have a quick look on Discogs as a reference point, so if I go into my want list, AC/DC High Voltage, the Australian version, it's not even for sale at the moment, the version that I'm looking at. But if I just put High Voltage CD, price lowest price on Discogs, $59. Yeah, I don't want to pay that much. I'm not that interested in having it, given that the international version, well, High Voltage, I think the Australian version of High Voltage, am I right in saying that pretty much... yeah, it's the other way around, sorry, isn't it? So there's 2 tracks on here, She's Got Balls and Little Lover on the international release, and then the rest all come from this album, TNT. Again, that would be a nice to have. I've also got in my want list, there's a bootleg edition of the tour I went to see in 2016, Vienna or Bust, which is AC/DC with Axl Rose. That is an unofficial release. There aren't any on sale on Discogs, at least at the moment, particularly because it was only limited to 100 copies, so I don't think I'm going to find that. I do enjoy sometimes going on YouTube and watching clips from that tour. A, because it's a bit different because Axl Rose was singing, and B, because of course I went to see that tour nearly 9 years ago to the day. It was, I popped on my Facebook a few days ago that it was 9 years ago, which is mind-boggling. It's really scary. I was 15 at the time, 24 now. Time does fly. That's almost, well, it's not quite, but it's almost half a lifetime away, half a lifetime ago, which is unbelievable. So I've got a few on the nice to have list. That Vienna or Bust, though, I have to say, is marred a little bit for concern, particularly because I can't hear it because there's no, it's not on Spotify, it's not on YouTube Music or whatever. By the fact that I had this for Christmas a few years ago, this was something I asked for Christmas. This is A Long Way to the Top. I don't know where to show this because it doesn't seem to focus anywhere I put it today. Fancy it being sunny in the UK, it's unbelievable. A Long Way to the Top, which is the concert anthology 1974 to 96. So you've got 6 separate concerts on here. And then the other 2 discs are documentaries, the Bon Scott years and the Brian Johnson years. I've watched both the DVDs, they're fine. I have listened to bits of this and been a bit disappointed by the sound quality. But the first one I actually went for was this. I had this at the same time, which was Christmas 2021. And that just shows how I've not quite really got round to listening to these. So I had both of these the same Christmas. Don't get me wrong, I don't think they were that expensive. It was £20 or £25 for the 2, so I've not lost that much if I don't listen to these. But I did try and listen because I was into this album particularly. Well, this album and that period, particularly that time. I tried listening to this one, Unmasked in Detroit. Oh, and the sound quality is just not there. Unmasked in Detroit, 8th of December 1984. Yeah, the sound quality is just not there. So Vienna or Bust is maybe a nice to have. Of course, you don't get that sound quality on YouTube recordings either because, mobile phones and that just don't have the, is it audio cancelling or something like that? It just doesn't cut the mustard. But again, this one, it's kind of put me off. It has put me off getting the Vienna or bust. But ironically enough, this Live at River Plate, going back to it, is actually probably the first live AC/DC album that I heard. Maybe not in its entirety, because back at this time, when I was probably 11 or 12, I didn't listen to this in full, but I knew a fair amount of tracks off this. It's between this album and this album for my first live exposure of AC/DC. I certainly remember Heatseeker and... where's the other one? Heatseeker, Whole Lot of Rosie. There was another one that I definitely... well, Sin City and Who Made Who. Sin City, of course, being a Bon Scott track, so this was the first version I heard of it before even listening to Power Age. Who Made Who's a great version here, and Heatseeker. This is a great album as well. I do enjoy listening to this. I was quickly looking at the Wikipedia before I came on, and quite rightly, one of the reviews, I think, for AllMusic said that Brian Johnson's voice sounds a little bit tired or worse for wear or something like that. And yes, it does, but I think it's just about okay here. I think if you listen to Brian Johnson now, and I've gone on about this in the past, so I don't want to dwell on the point, because Brian's had a brilliant career with the band, but yeah, it doesn't quite do it anymore, does it? At least I don't think, anyway. But at this point, he's still good enough and pulls off some of the songs well. You would have to say, though, the definitive AC/DC live document for, at least in their day, of course, is this, which is AC/DC. If You Want Blood, the Bon Scott era. Almost a crime, really, that it's not a double album, because there's 10 tracks here. I have also got Plug Me In, which I wasn't expecting to get all these props. This is just unscripted. Purely unscripted this is, so I didn't think to get this prop out before I started talking about it. This is Plug Me In, which nearly dropped out there, which is a Collector's Edition free DVD box set. This actually came with the £35 job lot of all the studio albums, so it's absolutely a bargain, because this goes for about £10, I think. So this is a free DVD set. I mean, if you look around this time, so there's... I mean, I think that some of the performances on here are from the live album. So you've got Rock and Roll Damnation, Dog Eat Dog, and Let There Be Rock, all from the Apollo Theatre. I know this was recorded at the Apollo, so maybe they're the same. The one that I really enjoyed watching, I think it was from Sight and Sound in Concert in London. It's either that one or Rock Goes to College, where Angus runs around the crowd. I think it was Rocker on this. So there was enough, even if, because, let's be honest, who cares? There is enough on this because you've got, I'm probably going to be wrong now and all that. So you haven't got Sin City on this. This is very much, of the time. I'd imagine this was probably the Power Age tour, wasn't it? Because you've got a few tracks from the new album and Let There Be Rock. You forget, I suppose, looking back at this, well, I do anyway, that at this point AC/DC had only got 3 or 4 albums, so there's not that much material to go off, but knowing that there were so many good double live albums at this point, Live and Dangerous, Kiss Alive, I could go on and on. It's a shame that this is almost just a single live album, which is why I wanted to have and explore this, because, again, this was an opportunity. So you've got you've actually got 4 CDs of Bon Scott stuff, but probably the most interesting would be the Maryland 79 and Hammersmith Odeon 79. Now, the Hammersmith Odeon concert was on BBC Radio 2 or something like that. Let me have a search. It was on there not long ago. And to be fair, the audio quality was, Radio 2 in concert. So this was last broadcast not that long ago, December 2024. And that is a little bit better in quality than this. Not that noticeable, albeit my PC speakers aren't the best these days. So I might have to listen to that Hammersmith Odeon concert, because, again, that is a little bit more extensive. There's 14 tracks. And, of course, you've got the Highway to Hell stuff on it as well. You've got Highway to Hell, Girls Got Rhythm, Shot Down in Flames, Walk All Over You. Brill. It might just inspire me to have a listen to that, actually. But I have been listening to a fair bit of AC/DC recently. You'll have possibly seen my last video last week about Rock or Bust and Power Up, and it wasn't no coincidence. Well, it was no coincidence, or it was a coincidence? Yes, it was a coincidence. That's right, isn't it? Yeah. It was a pure coincidence, the fact that on the Saturday I recorded that video about Rock or Bust and Power Up, and then today Was that a week ago or 2 weeks? I think it was 2 weeks ago. Time just flies by, doesn't it? But again, there was no coincidence. Maybe it was a week after then, but I'm rambling. That I went and bought the Live at River Plate album. So I bought it on Sunday evening. It arrived on Thursday. I played the first disc last night. I played most of the second disc. Again, I know this pretty well, so I didn't need to listen to it again for me to know it. But this is a very good live document. So if you've not heard this, if you've heard If You Want Blood and the original, well, the 90s era live album, then very much go and search for this and listen to it. But let me know if you've got any of the documentation, any of the live documentation mentioned in this video, particularly this, because I'd be interested. Well, I can hear myself, I suppose, but if anybody else has got this and listened to it, and any Kiss fans here, if you've got this, and equally, if there's any more live stuff by AC/DC that I need to be going out to get, because AC/DC are a fantastic live band, probably one of the best. But that's just me being biased, because AC/DC are one of my favourite bands. I'm going to leave it there before I ramble too much. This was just to say, woo, I've completed the collection. I have got Live at River Plate and a little bit of a ramble about my AC/DC live stuff that I've got on CD. But thank you for watching today. If you've enjoyed that little ramble, leave a like down below, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for regular, I hope I can start getting back into this again, regular music content. I cover well, I say a vast, but a range of things around here, which probably doesn't help me because I go from AC/DC to Roger Whittaker to Tom Jones back to Judas Priest, and it probably confuses the hell out of people. But there will be some more AC/DC content, I can assure you of that, at some point, hopefully soon. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day. Goodbye for now.